Welcome to Mysterious and Chilling. Tonight, I want you to settle in, dim the lights, and prepare yourself for a story that slips under the skin. A story about identity, about the faces we wear, and about the things we inherit that we can neither understand nor escape. Some families pass down heirlooms, others traditions. But this family, they pass down something far stranger. Every year, on the exact date and time of their birth, something unimaginable happens. Imagine the stroke of midnight passing, the candles blown out, laughter still echoing from a birthday party, and then the creeping dread of knowing what's about to come. At precisely 3:27 in the morning, the body changes. Not gracefully, not quietly, but violently. Bones twisting, skin stretching, joints popping, marrow snapping like brittle wood in a fire. The air fills with the smell of blood and the sound of flesh being reshaped. It's not death, not exactly, but it isn't life as we know it either. For 27 years, this ritual has repeated itself. Each birthday, the body breaks down and builds itself anew, leaving behind the old and presenting an entirely different person in the mirror. A new height, a new build, a new face. The voice even changes, softer one year, rougher the next. The only constant is the hour. 3:27 a.m. No earlier, no later. The first few times it happened, there was panic. As a child, waking up screaming, bones screaming louder, skin tearing as the body reassembled itself. Parents rushing in, helpless, whispering words of comfort they didn't truly believe. The family had seen it before. It ran in their blood. A curse, they said, a condition, a tradition, a destiny. Nobody could quite decide which. All that was certain was that it couldn't be stopped. And so the years dragged on, each face discarded like a snake shedding skin. At 13, when most kids were worried about acne and crushes, she was already dealing with a transformation that was far more grotesque. At 21, when her friends went out drinking to celebrate, she stayed home, waiting for her body to break. By 27, she thought she had seen it all. She thought she knew what to expect. She thought she could handle it. She was wrong. That night, she didn't bother sleeping. What would be the point? The change was coming. Instead, she scrolled through her phone, counting the minutes. The clock ticked closer to 3:27, and the tension in her bones grew unbearable. Then it began. The ribs caved inward, her teeth shifted inside her gums, her eyes blurred. Fingers snapped backward and reformed, legs elongated, spine bent. The familiar crunch, the wet tearing sound, all of it washed over her. She breathed through it, like she always did, waiting for it to end. When it was over, she stood, taller, sharper cheekbones, a crooked incisor that made her smile uneven. She walked to the bathroom mirror and studied herself, practicing expressions, stretching new skin across unfamiliar bones. This one looked meaner, less friendly, less like her. She tugged at the corners of her mouth, pulled at her cheeks. Another stranger staring back. Then came the call. Every year, without fail, her mother stayed awake, waiting until the change was over to see the new face. Her tired smile filled the screen. "Ooh, I like this one. Very svelte." She laughed, supportive as always, though her face had never once changed. "You look a little familiar," she said. At first it was nothing, a mother's slip of the tongue, but the word stuck like a splinter. Familiar? The faces were supposed to be new. She brushed it off. Went to bed, tried to forget. But the next morning, the world refused to let her ignore it. On the way to work, people stared. Some gasped. One woman went pale, her mouth opening as if she'd seen a ghost. The neighbors were used to change, but this reaction was different. Stranger. Sharper. And when she got to work, the tension in the air told her something was very wrong. The office was abuzz. News on every TV. A celebrity had died in the night. A young model named Megan Rogers, killed in a violent car crash at 3:15 a.m. She had been one of the firm's rising stars, someone the company was thrilled to represent. And now she was gone. Her boss, Lucy, usually distant, broke down in tears when she saw her. "Thank God you're all right," she cried, hugging her tightly. Confusion swept over her until Lucy pulled up the news article, and there it was. Megan Rogers' face plastered across the screen. A face that should have belonged to someone else. A face that no longer existed in the world of the living. Except it did. It was staring back at her from the mirror just hours before. Her face, her reflection, and Megan Rogers were the same. The realization was like ice water in her veins. For years, she had believed these new faces were random. A quirk of nature, a grotesque miracle. But what if they weren't random? What if they belonged to someone else? Someone who no longer breathed? Someone who had died just hours before she awoke in their image? Her mother's words came back to her then, sharp and heavy. "You look a little familiar." How many times had her faces been familiar to strangers? How many gasps, how many double takes, how many whispered names that she ignored? How many times had she brushed off the odd look, the flicker of recognition in a stranger's eyes? Had she been wearing the faces of the dead all along? And that is where the story begins to unravel. Imagine living each year, knowing you will shed your identity, only to discover that your new reflection may not be new at all. That somewhere, someone is grieving a person whose face you now wear. Imagine carrying their smile, their scars, their imperfections, without ever having known them. Is it inheritance, a curse, a theft, or something darker? A ritual of flesh that requires a soul to vanish for another to take shape? The answers are unclear, but one thing is certain. Once you realize the faces you wear belong to the dead, you can never look in the mirror the same way again. This is not the end of the story, it's only the beginning. And the deeper you go, the more unsettling the truth becomes. Some people believe that when we dream of strangers, those faces don't come from our imagination at all. They say the mind cannot invent a human face. Everyone we see in our dreams belongs to someone real, someone we've glimpsed, or someone who has already passed away. What if the same rule applies here? What if the faces we wear, the ones that arrive uninvited in the mirror, are borrowed fragments of lives that ended too soon? Think about it. How many times have you looked into a crowd and thought you recognized someone long gone? How many times has a stranger's face sent a shiver down your spine because it felt too familiar? Maybe those faces don't just vanish into memory. Maybe they're waiting, circling back, ready to be worn again. And if that's true, then the question isn't whose face you see in the mirror. The real question is, who saw it last?